Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB, and it is Tuesday night, 6 o'clock Central Time here. We're going to be going over the Week 15 Waiver Wire report. We got a lot of injuries and news to look at in this one, so I'm probably going to try to avoid start-sit questions in this one tonight. We're going to probably just focus on Waiver Wire questions and make sure you guys are locked in on your claims for tonight. But just starting it off real quick, I want to start kind of talking about some of the injuries that I'm looking at here. There are some important injuries, and I have a huge list of injuries at the quarterback, running back, receiver, and tight end position. And these are going to be very impactful for what we do in the waiver wire tonight. Starting with the quarterbacks, you got Daniel Jones. He has a hamstring injury. From what I've seen, he's questionable right now. I think I'm probably going to be fading all New York Giants this week for the most part. They do have a tough matchup against Cleveland, and that game is on Monday night or Sunday Night Football this week. And then we're looking at Matt Stafford here. He's got a rib injury. He's probably on the more doubtful side of questionable. So I think we're going to be seeing the backup there, Chase Daniel. What's going on, Harris, man? Thanks for hanging out tonight. We also have Alex Smith questionable with a calf injury. He's probably 50-50 at the moment right now. They do have Dwayne Haskins in there, which I do think would be good for Terry McLaurin. So I'm not really nervous about that. But the Washington football team, we'll get into those questions. I think on Thursday night, we'll look more closely at the Washington start-sits. And then Drew Brees, he's probably not playing this week. I do have questionable for Week 15, but he's probably more like questionable for Week 16 at this point. So he could be a guy that you stash and maybe hold for the championship there. Let me just answer this quick question from Harris here. Should we pick up TJ Hopkinson and drop Dallas Goedert? I'm fine with that. I mean, TJ Hopkinson has proven to be, I think he's the tight end number 3 on the season. I can't really think of, I know Chase Daniel might be the quarterback option there, but I think at this point, TJ Hopkinson has been so good for us and so steady. He's the tight end 3 on the season. I do like Dallas Goedert, but he's got a little bit lower of a floor. He's also got Jalen Hurts throwing to him, so the quarterback situation isn't ideal for both guys, but I think I'm going to go with TJ Hockenson there. But I get it. If you want to roll with Goddard, I'm starting Dallas Goedert in a couple of my Final Fours this weekend, so I like both guys. But just based on, I guess, tenure and how the season's gone, TJ Hockenson's probably a much safer play. So quickly looking at the running back injuries that we're going to monitor this week. Antonio Gibson, he's questionable with the toe, but I think he's more on the doubtful side, so we probably won't expect him. Raheem Moster, this one's a really interesting one, and this one's gonna queue up one of my top priority ads at running back this weekend. So Raheem Mostert, he is doubtful for Week 15 with an ankle injury. He had an MRI yesterday, so we're probably gonna be trying to target Jeff Wilson for sure in this one. Going up against Dallas, that's a really sweet matchup. If Raheem Mostert would have played, I would have liked him as a top 15 running back probably. But if Mostert's out of the equation, and we've seen Jeff Wilson sneak in the touchdown last week and be pesky with Raheem Mostert's snaps, so Jeff Wilson's probably my top priority ad of the week with Raheem Mostert trending towards doubtful here. Christian McCaffrey, they've already kind of said that we don't expect him to play, so it looks like Mike Davis is going to get another go here. Austin Eckler, this one was really interesting to me. So he played most of the game against the Falcons on Sunday. The last drive of the game, though, he suffered a pretty big hit on his quad, and apparently it's bruised. So he was out for the entire last series. It looks like he missed practice yesterday, and I think they didn't really practice today. But let me just pull up the practice reports here. They didn't practice today, but they scheduled him as a limited participant. So I'm really watching him closely in this one. And if he practices tomorrow, that's a good sign that he's going to play. But we do have a little bit of caution here with Austin Eckler. Again, Tuesday's report today, they didn't actually practice, so these are estimated reports. But you do see Austin Eckler questionable with a quad injury. It's not really like a ligament type thing. It's more of a bruise that he took from a hit. So he's limited today. If he gets a limited in tomorrow, that makes me a little bit optimistic. But if he misses tomorrow, that's going to make Justin Jackson a really popular guy. And I think if you do have Austin Eckler, it is worth probably snagging Justin Jackson just in case. They do play on Thursday, so a lot could happen tomorrow. And good or bad, I think it's a good thing to probably just secure Eckler with Justin Jackson. So really, I'm watching Eckler and Mostert because these are guys in high-profile situations. Ronald Jones, he fractured, I don't know if it's fracture or broke, but he broke his pinky. And this is kind of a similar situation that Chris Godwin had, maybe a month or two ago. And Godwin missed a week because of this. I think they're putting pins into Ronald Jones's pinky, so he might be doubtful for week 15 here. So maybe we're not excited about Leonard Fournette or LaShawn McCoy there, but this might make us like Tom Brady and the passing weapons a little bit more in this one. Really good matchup, too, for Tampa Bay going up against the Atlanta pass defense. Myles Gaskin, I'm assuming he's going to be out. It's going to be pretty tough for him to clear the COVID-19 protocol. If he does, it would be Sunday morning. So for now, I'm assuming all week, I'm going to say advise caution with Myles Gaskin. He's probably not going to play this week. It does look like David Johnson's going to go, though. So he went on the COVID list earlier than Myles Gaskin, so I think he's got 1 or 2 days ahead of him there. So good news, you're going to get David Johnson back for the most part. And then because we're nervous about Gaskin missing this week, maybe Salvon Ahmed returns. We'll watch his practice participation there too. And there's probably some other running backs that I'm missing here. I might have missed James Conner. Did I add James Conner to this list? Let me just hit refresh real quick here. James Conner's also got a quad injury, similar to even Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, those guys. There, I did add that. So he's questionable for week 15. I think he's even trending towards being doubtful. So maybe Benny Snell, maybe I really don't know Benny Snell, but I'm finding it tough to trust any Steelers running back there. So before I cover the receivers, we got Sport Dog in the chat room. What's going on, man? Thanks for hanging out. So we're worried about Keenan Allen. We know Mike Williams is out. What do we think of picking up Tyron Johnson and dropping Williams? So there's actually a positive chance that Williams does play. We were just looking at the Chargers practice report, and it does say he was limited today. So this was an estimation report. They didn't actually practice, but both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen were limited today. If Keenan Allen's out, I do like Tyron Johnson, but I'm assuming, as in terms of guys that I think are going to play, I think Keenan Allen will play. We'll see. Tomorrow's going to be a big day, so we'll see what the full practice participation is. That's going to be the one full practice that we get from them for the week here. So Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. I'm watching all of those guys. So if you're nervous here, I mean, are you going to start Mike Williams if Keenan Allen's out? I probably would. So I think for the most part, I think I'm okay with not putting a claim in tonight, and then we'll see what happens tomorrow. And then you probably just got to be quick with the waiver wire, because if Keenan Allen's out, I do like Mike Williams a lot. If both guys are out, that's going to mean Tyron Johnson's probably a really hot ad there. So I think I'm going to just advise caution here and say I think I'm okay with waiting. I think the chances of Keenan or Mike Williams, one of those guys playing, is probably pretty good. So I think we're just going to hold on and see what happens tomorrow with their practice participation. I guess in terms of other receivers here, I don't think we're going to see Kenny Golladay this week, maybe not the rest of the year. Julio Jones, we're watching for his practice reports with the hamstring injury. It does look like DJ Moore is going to get activated from the COVID-19 list. He did have an ankle injury before the bye week as well, but I think everything's looking good there. We're going to get DJ Moore back against Green Bay. It's a tough matchup, but we'll see if he can crack our top 36 receivers this week. Yeah, Deebo Samuel, he's pretty much been – like they pretty much said he's not playing this week, and it might even be next week as well. So we're going to love Brandon Ayuk this week. Devonte Parker's a really tough one here. This whole Miami Dolphins team is pretty banged up. They also lost Mike Gesicki down here with the dislocated shoulder. He's on the doubtful side here. They did give Devonte Parker a chance to play, so we'll see about his practice reports this week. But so far for the Dolphins, Devonte Parker, Mike Gesicki, and Jakeem Grant are all pretty banged up here. I'm assuming Gesicki's out for sure. And we'll look at a name down the list here in a little bit. But then he also just brought up Mike Williams. I'll probably add Keenan Allen to this list, but I'm thinking Keenan Allen's going to be okay. But again, I think on that last drive when Justin Herbert led them to go get the game-winning field goal, he was without Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler on that drive. So hopefully he can get his studs back here. We'll be nervous about I'm a little bit nervous about Justin Herbert coming into this one. I do have a pretty big investment in Herbert for one of my leagues. So I'm for sure tracking this Chargers situation. And then Brandon Cooks is likely going to play here. He's got the neck injury. He's questionable for the week, but we'll monitor him. That's going to make us a little bit interested in Chad Hansen and Kiki Cutie, but we'll see there. I don't really know if I like the Houston Texans going up against the Colts this week. We talked about Gesicki here. They did say that Austin Hooper is probably going to play here, so he's more on the probable side of questionable. And then Noah Fant, he did not do anything today. He left the game Sunday with an illness, so he's definitely questionable for Week 15. So a ton of injuries to monitor this weekend. It's going to be a very important waiver wire night for everybody here. And then I do have a list of guys returning from IR. The Buffalo Bills did activate John Brown. I don't know if we're going to see John Brown play. I wouldn't start John Brown this week if he is going to play. I'd like to see his snap counts and stuff and just get him a healthy game before we trust him. But maybe Week 16, John Brown comes into play. It's going to be a tough game against the Patriots, but John Brown, definitely someone to keep an eye on. Rashad Penny's probably going to be playing this week. I think that's the plan, to get him involved and it'll get a little bit of snaps going. I think that's more of a playoff, like a real playoffs for football thing, where we're not going to be using him for fantasy. And then really nobody else stood out here, I guess, on the eligible to return list. So we're going to get into the quarterback streaming options ranked here. The matchups that I like the best, I added this little divider line and kind of tiered it for you guys. I hope this helps make things a little bit more clear. But I'm fine with Tannehill against Detroit, Jalen Hurts against Arizona, and Phillip Rivers with Houston. We did see Phillip Rivers have a pretty nice game against Houston 2 weeks ago. So if you want the safest play, I think it's Phillip Rivers. If you want the guy that has a really good matchup, that's going to be Ryan Tannehill versus Detroit. And then Jalen Hurts does have some pretty good upside there with his rushing ability. The second tier of guys here, I'm probably going to have to cross Matt Stafford off the list. I was being optimistic this morning, but things got kind of worse throughout the day here. So Kirk Cousins against Chicago, we did see that game happen a couple weekends ago as well. I want to say that was a Thursday. No, that was a Monday night game, I believe. Maybe it was a Sunday night game. I can't remember. But Cousins played pretty well. Both Jefferson and Thielen had themselves pretty good games. Derek Carr going up against the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football. That could also be a nice spot there. I did see the Chargers put Derwyn James on the COVID-19 list. So that's interesting for Nelson Aguilar and Darren Waller for sure. And then the other thing, too, with that Charger game is Henry Ruggs went on the COVID list. So you see two pretty good players there, Henry Ruggs for the Raiders and Derwyn James both on the COVID list for Thursday Night Football. We're also watching all those injuries to the Chargers' main pieces as well. Jared Goff going up against the Jets. That's a really sweet matchup. We just saw Russell Wilson pick them apart for 4 touchdowns. So Jared Goff could have himself a pretty nice ceiling day, but I wonder if that game's going to be 40-3, and it's just a lot of rushing and a lot of basically a lack of volume from Jared Goff. But I might move Jared Goff up here into this tier and put him up in the top 4 here. Baker Mayfield up against the Giants. He's on a 2-game hot streak right now. Mitch Trubisky's also playing some pretty good football too. 3 touchdowns last weekend against Houston. And then these guys are more like quarterback 2 super flex plays. I don't really trust them. I don't think you should be looking at them. And then same with this list too. These guys are all kind of deep super flex QB2s. So if you guys do have questions on the quarterbacks, we can get to those. But I think I'm going to move on to the running backs. I did see a question here from Humboldt Parker. Thanks for the question. And thank you for hanging out tonight too. Will Mahomes play every game here on out? They clinch, and I'm worried if he'll be out. So this one, it really depends on this week. If the Chiefs drop one to the Saints this weekend, that's going to keep them in lockstep with Pittsburgh. And we do know that that the Pittsburgh Steelers play the Bengals this week. So that's going to be basically a free square for the Steelers. Let me just take a look at the Steelers schedule. I think they play Indianapolis yet. So next weekend they play the Steelers, the Colts play the Steelers, and then the Steelers also play the Browns. So the chances of the Steelers losing one of these games and perhaps giving the Chiefs, a 1-game boost there, we could potentially see Pat Mahomes sit week 17. So if you're playing in a league that's week 17, the Chargers Chiefs game, I'd be nervous about that game. I would imagine we see him for sure in week 16 because they do technically. They're going to want, a 2-game lead for sure before they rest a player. So if the Chiefs go out and beat the Saints this weekend and the Bengals win or the Steelers win, they're still just 1 game ahead of them, where I think they're going to want that Falcons game to just secure it. So I think you're fine for week 16. If you do play in week 17, I probably would be nervous about this Chargers game here, because if the Colts, like we just saw their schedule, if the Colts upset the Steelers here and move them to 3 losses, there's almost no point in playing the Chiefs in week 17. So I hope that helps. Is David Harris is asking, is David Montgomery a good play this week, or should I drop him? I don't think I would drop David Montgomery. I know it's a tough matchup it's a little bit of a tough matchup for David Montgomery going up against the Minnesota Vikings. Let me just pull up, because we do know that Montgomery played the Vikings a couple weeks ago. Oh, actually, here's what's weird is that was the game where Montgomery was out. He had the concussion symptoms, so he didn't end up playing Minnesota. But I think just looking at his last 3 games, this man's on a really good trend here. He's scored touchdowns in 3 straight games. For Harris, I think it really would depend on who your other running back options are. If you have 2 or 3 guys that you want to list out, but I think I'm going to lean towards playing David Montgomery this week. And yeah, if you're week 16, I think you're going to be fine there. Because like we did just say, the Steelers play the Bengals this weekend. That should be an easy win. And then basically just looking, let me just pull up here, and just in terms of looking at the NFL standings, I mean, even though they have a 1-game lead against them right now, you're still probably going to see, I mean, at worst case scenario, maybe you see the Chiefs just, kick the Falcons around for a first half, but only a 1-game lead here. And the chances that the Chiefs lose this weekend, they play the Saints, who are, embarrassed against the Eagles. So there is a good chance that the Chiefs slip up. But I think for week 16, you're going to be in pretty good shape for your Kansas City Chiefs there. So Sports Dog asking, with a Thursday start, wonder start Herbert or Rivers? Also, what start for receiver and flex would you consider? I know I'll go with T.Y. Hilton. I also have Allen, McLaurin, QT, Woods, or Lazard. So I was hoping to answer more start-sit questions for tomorrow night. I'll answer this one for sure, though. So with Herbert or Rivers, I think, because I need more clarity, I think, on the Chargers there. If I know Keenan Allen's fine, if I know Mike Williams is fine, and I know Austin Eckler's fine, I'm pretty happy with Herbert there. I think the upside's pretty good. It's a great matchup against the Raiders. And then you got Phillip Rivers going up against Houston. He's a safe play. He's probably good for 2 touchdowns and 250 yards. So I think I'm going to need a little bit more, at least until tomorrow, to see what the Chargers reports are, to see if they get their weapons in. And then start for receiver and flex. Would you consider? I'll go with T.Y. Hilton, but we also have Allen, McLaurin, QD, Woods, or Lazard. So I'm not sure how many we need here. I'm playing Bob Woods for sure, going up against the Jets. I think that's a smash spot there. So if you like T.Y. and Woods, I guess I'll give you one more. It really depends if Keenan Allen is going to play. If Keenan Allen plays, I'll play Allen over McLaurin, QT, and Lazard. Allen's been pretty good there, but he's got the hamstring questionable thing going on right now. So we'll kind of see more about that tomorrow with the practice reports. Say Allen's out. I think I don't have a problem with McLaurin, especially because Dwayne Haskins is back. I actually think Haskins is a good thing for Terry McLaurin to get him back on track. They played together at Ohio State. The chemistry is pretty strong. I looked at the targets for the first 4 games for Terry McLaurin this week, and that's if Haskins is dropping back to throw the ball, he's looking for Terry pretty much at all times. So I do, in this group of receivers, T.Y. Hilton, I like that against Houston. I do like Bob Woods against the Jets. And then we'll see about Keenan Allen's reports tomorrow. If Allen's out, I think I'm totally fine with McLaurin in there for us. We got Carlos asking, Chris Carson or Michael Thomas at flex, full PPR. So the Seattle Seahawks do play a tough matchup against Washington football team. That makes me a little bit hesitant there. I think I'm going to lean with Michael Thomas in the full PPR there. The opportunity for 8 to 9 catches is pretty strong. And then David Montgomery or Allen Robinson standard. In terms of standard, I like the odds of David Montgomery getting a touchdown. But for me, I think I have a hard time benching Allen Robinson. I think that's probably the guy that I would lean with in that one. And then we're picking a defense here. Ravens, 49ers, Washington. I have 49ers and Ravens, but can pick up Washington. So I'm a big fan of Washington. They also have the toughest matchup on paper against Seattle. So I would probably avoid, picking up Seattle or avoid the Seattle offense. I think I'm going to lean with the Ravens in this one, going up against Jacksonville. I know, and it's also in Baltimore too. Baltimore's playing good football. I know they kind of struggled last night against the Cleveland Browns, but they get Jacksonville coming in. That's a 1-12 team. I feel pretty safe with the Ravens there. And then, can you answer a keep early question? Yeah, fill it out. Aiden will answer your question there. And yeah, I guess at the top of the show, I did say I want to focus more on waiver wire questions tonight. Tomorrow night we'll be covering the Thursday night football game, and then I'm going to open it up for all your start sit questions for the week. And then again on Wednesdays, Thursday, and Friday show we'll cover all your guys' start sit questions. But it's for the most part on Tuesday, it's hard to answer sit questions because we don't really have a full practice report on anybody yet. So I think that's probably the best way to do it. So for tonight's waiver wire show, I did have a list of a couple running backs here that I wanted to talk a little bit more about. And then, Aiden, if you want to keep filling out your keeper question there, we'll get to that whenever it's in there. But the following running backs here, these guys are likely owned but might be available. That's probably the list that I would rank them in for starters this week. I do like J.K. Dobbins against Jacksonville. I would lean towards getting J.K. Dobbins in my lineup this week. But we're also watching Myles Gaskin. We're watching Ronald Jones' pinky injury. It looks like Mike Davis is going to be in our lineups this weekend against Green Bay. And then just a couple handcuffs down here. But if you need to pick up a guy to start this week, Jeff Wilson is probably the one guy that I'm going to go pound the table for. We've seen Jeff Wilson kind of pester Raheem Mostert with touches and goal line, touchdowns there too. And if Mostert's going to be out in this one, it's going to be an easy big Jeff Wilson game. I could see 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns in this one. I think the 49ers should be able to run the ball as they please against Dallas. And especially if Mostert's out, even if you don't need Jeff Wilson, I think it's a really good idea to just add him and block other teams from adding a guy like Jeff Wilson. Just looking at what Wilson's been doing the last couple games. And this is with basically sharing snaps with Raheem Mostert, but Jeff Wilson has been actually useful in PPR leagues the last 2 games. So 11.4, sure, 7.9, but he's getting the touches, 7 for 47, 11 for 31, and the touchdown against Washington. So Washington's a tough matchup. And then he also gets a couple catches here. So if you eliminate Raheem Mostert from this whole situation, you're looking at almost 20 touches for Jeff Wilson going into Dallas. So super into Jeff Wilson. I think if there's one running back you need, that's the guy to target. Also, Lynn Bowden Jr. I'm not sure what platform you guys are playing on, for fantasy, but he could be listed as a running back. He could be listed as a receiver for you guys. And if he's listed as a running back, I think that's a free spot, especially if Devonte Parker, Gesicki, and Jakeem Grant are all out. This is a guy that I'm adding on basically the end of my bench, and I'm going to wait and see what happens throughout the week. But I do think in a PPR league, Lynn Bowden, he did catch 7 for 82 last week. And just quickly looking at the opportunity report, Miami just got hit with injuries, and of all their running backs and all their receivers, you see Lynn Bowden here with 59 snaps. The next closest running back was Patrick Laird with 42. The next closest receiver was Matt Collins with 40. So this is a guy that they want to get on the field here. They let him throw a pass. They gave him a rushing attempt. And he also had 9 targets here. So Lynn Bowden, he's a rookie play. He's going to be a tough start, call. But I do think the opportunity could be there with all these Dolphins injured. And then just because we're nervous a little bit about Austin Eckler, I do think Justin Jackson, especially if you're an Austin Eckler owner, Justin Jackson's probably a must add to the end of your bench because we were talking about his quad injury. We don't really know what his practice participation is going to be tomorrow. If Austin Eckler doesn't practice tomorrow, I'm super nervous. And then I think people are going to get on to Justin Jackson there, who did return last week, and he got some touches. He got a handful of snaps there. So let's just look quickly at the Chargers snaps here. So Kalen Ballage and Gabe Neighbors are still going to be kind of messy there. But I do think if Austin Eckler is going to be out, Justin Jackson would probably supersede these guys and get a lot of these targets, a handful of carries here, but definitely the targets. So if you play in a PPR league, I do think that could be something to monitor there. So if you guys do have any running back questions, Damian Harris is kind of questionable right now, so maybe it's Sony Michel. Not a great matchup against Miami. I don't love really any of these guys down here. I think I'm more interested in, for sure, Jeff Wilson and Lynn Bowden. Looks like Sports Dog's got one real quick. You can pick up Cam Akers maybe on waivers to supplement my regular starters, Henry and Jones. You think this Wilson is more likely to get more snaps than Akers? Give me Cam Akers in that situation against the Jets. I think we're going to see a lot of rookie potential there. And then, we're probably not going to know if Raheem Mostert's out until maybe Thursday or Friday. So if you just want to collect the best talent, I think that's Cam Akers for sure. And then based on Henry and Jones, I'm probably not starting Cam Akers over Henry and Jones, but it's a really good idea to add Akers or Jeff Wilson. Or if you could get both, that'd be a great move too, because I think both Akers and Wilson are going to be guys that people want to start this weekend. So I think I'm about definitely Cam Akers and then Jeff Wilson if you do have the room there. So Aiden's asking about Keeper League, Superflex, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Joe Mixon, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, DJ Moore, Kenny Galladay, George Kittle, Irv Smith, Kyler Murray, Alvin Kamara, and T. Higgins. Holy crap. This is a hell of a team. Whew. So we can only keep 8 of these guys. Is there any penalty? It says you got 8 spots, but is there any penalty? Like, am I paying like a certain round for a price here? Otherwise, we have to ask ourselves what. Another thing too is like, can I only keep these guys for a handful of years? Like, is there a max like 2-year keep rule or something like that? Looks like he's also got CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Mike Thomas, Jason Sanders, Washington football team. Again, super flex. Jesus, this team is ridiculously stacked. So Lamar, Dak, Herbert. I'm going to lean towards probably Dak Prescott in that one. I think if you asked ourselves who like who would you start for a full season next year? Dak Prescott looked really good before he got hurt there. He's also got a ton of really fun weapons. So I do like Dak Prescott for the quarterback. I think you're keeping Barkley and Elliott for sure, those two. And then between DJ Moore, Kenny Golladay, I'm probably going to lean towards keeping both DJ and Kenny. So I'm up to Dak, I'm up to Barkley, Elliott, DJ Moore, Kenny Golladay. Give me probably George Kittle for sure. So that's 6. So we only have 2 spots left. Jesus. Man, this is tough. Only 2 spots. I mean, how do you not keep Alvin Kamara? I think I'd rather keep Alvin Kamara than Michael Thomas. But I get it. I think I'm going to finish that answer with Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. Give me those 2 Saints players. So I think I got all 8. If that helps, I hope it did answer some questions there. But man, 8 keepers and you got pretty much a super stud team. That's going to be tough. We can also revisit this, Aiden. I don't know when your keepers need to be locked in there, but we can revisit that when it's time to submit your keepers there to help you out. So Harris is asking, pick one: Jerry Jeudy, Brandon Ayuk, Cole Beasley, Chris. It's Brandon Ayuk. Easy case closed. Brandon Ayuk. No questions asked. Should I get the football team, Bears, Cardinals, or the 49ers? The Bears struggled against the Vikings the last time we saw them, so I'm a little bit hesitant there. The Cardinals do play the Eagles, going up against Jalen Hurts. That one could be kind of fun. But the 49ers going up against Dallas, I think that could be an interesting game there. We don't really have a lot of confidence in the Dallas Cowboys, and that's probably the easiest offense to face. So it's gonna for me be between the 49ers and Washington in this case. And because Washington plays Seattle, that makes me a little bit nervous. I do like their defense as a whole a lot better than the 49ers, but I think I'm going to roll with the 49ers in terms of who to start there for you. But yeah, man, Cam Akers is no joke. And no problem. When's your next? We're going live tonight at 7:30. We're going to be doing a live mock draft. I got 2 other friends coming on the show tonight. We're going to be mock drafting a 12-team league. And basically, we're just trying to get as many thoughts out on NBA players as we can tonight. But yes, and basically in an hour from now, we'll go live. We'll do a live mock draft there. So come hang out with us in an hour. So any huge boom player in my week 2 playoff, I lost by 60, so I need to win by 60. Any huge boom player in my week 2? So Aiden, is this all the players that you're looking at that we just looked at? I think that would help me with there. Any huge boom player. So we started Debo and Chark and sold for me this week. Sold me for this week. Yeah, we're not starting Debo Samuel. He's probably not playing. I don't really want to play DJ Chark either. Going up against the Ravens. I know Gardner Minshew's back, but I'm not really sure we can trust the 1-12 Jacksonville Jaguars there. So I guess if you have any other quick players that we're looking at there. So Harris is asking Brandon Ayuk, J.D. McKissic, or Juju. We're going to eliminate J.D. McKissic. I like Brandon Ayuk or Juju, but for me, Brandon Ayuk, guys, I think that's the player that's going to stick out for me for the most part in these start-sit questions. So give me Brandon Ayuk. Even though Juju has a really good matchup, I mean, Brandon Ayuk just has no competition for targets. He's got a really good thing going with Nick Mullins right now, and Debo's probably not playing for the next at least 2 weeks here. So Brandon Ayuk, easy question. We have the LA Rams defense. Try to pick up second defense. Cleveland available, and we like the matchup in week 16. Let me see here. The Browns. Don't they play the Jets or something? And they do. Yes. All systems go. Stack the Rams and the Browns, and you're probably going to have a good time. Let's see here. I guess in terms of waiver wire, I think the one player that could really help you, Aiden, is going to be this Jeff Wilson here. This guy's probably a must-start running back too, I think, this week, especially if Raheem Mostert's out. I think he's the one guy that people are kind of overlooking right now. He's got 2 or 3 touchdown potential this weekend, and I'm going to be starting him for sure in my standard leagues. And I guess another guy here, I really don't know if you need quarterback help. One guy that I'm kind of interested in this weekend is going to be Nelson Aglor. I know it's a Thursday night game, so that makes me a little bit nervous. But the Chargers already ruled out Derwyn James, who's their best safety. And if you look back at the game logs, We did see Nelson Aglor score a touchdown against the Chargers back in week 9. So I'm kind of interested if you need receiver help. Maybe Nelson Aglor could help us. I do have a list of other wide receivers here. We did talk about Lynn Bowden up at the top. John Brown's kind of a stash play. He might play this weekend, but maybe against week 16, I think we might consider starting him if things look good. But nothing really sticks out here on the waiver wire for receivers. Again, I think Nelson Aglor and Lynn Bowden are probably the top 2 guys. All these receivers down here are kind of really boom bust. I think Marquez Valdez-Scantling sticks out there. He did have a pretty nice game last week. And then we'll look at the tight ends in a sec here. Who is the best defense for week 17? Give me the Rams, no question. Give me the Rams. They're probably not available, but if you can get a hold of the Rams, that's the must-start team going up against the Jets. Turner's asking to pick 3: Corey Davis, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, Cutie. I'm going to take Allen Robinson 100%. Assuming Keenan Allen plays, we're going to put Keenan Allen in there as well. And then because it's Corey Davis against the Detroit Lions, I'm going to lean Corey Davis. We did just see Kiki Cutie, though, have a pretty nice game against Houston a couple of weekends ago, so it's close. Now, the differences between Corey Davis and Kiki Cutie is Davis is going to be on the Titans, who they're probably going to throw the ball no more than 20, 22 times, whereas Kiki Cutie is going to be on the Texans playing the Colts. They're going to probably have to throw the ball 35, 40 times. So there might be more opportunity with Kiki Cutie, but you're also at risk of a Corey Davis 3 for 40 kind of day. So I do think Kiki Cutie has a pretty high floor, and I think I might lean Kiki Cutie there. I think that's what I'm going to do. But for sure, Allen Robinson, Keenan Allen, and then I think our decision between Kiki and Corey Davis might be kind of tight there. So pick 2: Raheem Moster, James Robinson, Lynn Bowden. Can also pick up Jeff Wilson if Moster doesn't play. I'm just scooping up Jeff Wilson for sure. All the reports that I read today made it seem really doubtful that Raheem Mostert's going to play. He just got an MRI done yesterday. He's not 100%. The 49ers aren't going anywhere. Why should they? I mean, they just paid Raheem Mostert too, so I don't really know if it makes sense for them to run Mostert out and basically just kind of keep grinding his ankle down. So I'm a huge fan of Jeff Wilson, and if we have to pick 2 here, I'm going James Robinson and probably Jeff Wilson. Those are probably easier players to trust. I like Lynn Bowden, but it's also you're getting the Dolphins going up against the Patriots. Bill Belichick might have Tua's number in that one. So for me, give me whatever running back the 49ers are going to throw out there, and then give me James Robinson. I said for week 17, not this week. So we're picking up the Cleveland Browns for week 16 though. Yes. Let me see where this was, Harris. Why can't I see it? So who's the best defense for week 17? My bad. Let's take a quick look at the week 17 schedule. Week 17 make me nervous because we don't really know what teams are going to be resting their players quite yet. I do have a feeling the Chiefs might be one of the teams that are doing so. But week 17, first of all, you get the Patriots playing the Jets. That's a pretty strong bet there. You're also getting the Colts against Jacksonville. That'd probably be my next favorite bet. The Ravens also play Cincinnati, so those are probably 3 of my top teams right there. Whether it's the Patriots going up against New York, the Colts against Jacksonville, and the Ravens against Cincinnati. I think I'm going to say give me the Patriots for sure. And then I'm just looking around here. Anybody else stick out? No, those are probably the 3 teams that you want to target against. I'm looking for the Rams here. The Rams play Arizona. It's not exactly the fun matchup there against Kyler. So Patriots, Colts, Baltimore, and then I think I'm going to say Patriots would probably be the one guy that I like there the most. So Aiden's asking here. We got Justin Herbert, we got Nick Chubb, Wayne Gallman, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Noah Fant, Terry McLaurin, Saints D. Jason Sanders looks locked in there. I'm assuming James Conner, Raheem Mostert are not going to play. Antonio Brown, J.K. Dobbins. And we need to win by 60 plus. Willing to drop anybody here. So Alan Lazard, we can safely drop him. I don't think you're going to feel comfortable starting him this week or next week. In terms of these players up here, I don't think Antonio Brown's going to help us do anything. I'm actually nervous about James Conner. I think James Conner's probably not going to play this weekend. If he's trending towards not playing, we could probably just cut him upright. So the one guy too, Raheem Mostert. I think you're going to hold on to Mostert just for maybe 1 or 2 more days. But I think the guys you can safely cut for sure is going to be in this order. It's going to be Lazard. It's going to be Alan Lazard, and it's going to be Antonio Brown. And then I'm thinking here, everybody else looks pretty safe. I don't know if I'm going to trust Wayne Gallman, but it looks like you need running back help there. But if you can go get a Jeff Wilson, I'm playing Jeff Wilson over Wayne Gallman. The Saints defense going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, I don't really know if I like that. So it looks like you're going to need some defensive help there. And then with Noah Fant, not really sure what he's going to do. We might need a tight end in this one. So I guess you do need 3 names to potentially pick up replacements at tight end, at defense, and looks like running back. So although I do like J.K. Dobbins, I think you should start J.K. Dobbins over Wayne Gallman. So that's kind of covered there. So I think that helps your question. You're going to need 3 guys out there. And then if you're picking players up, I do think I guess it really depends on who's available in your league, but I do think if you need a tight end, Jared Cook, Cole Kmet, Herb Smith, I'm looking at these 3 guys. The Chiefs do allow a handful of tight end points lately, so maybe it's Jared Cook there off the waiver wire. For receiver, a guy that sticks out is Nelson Aglor going up against the Chargers. He scored a touchdown against them back in Week 9, and Derwyn James is going to be out in this one, so I like Aglor. And then if you can get Brandon Ayuk, that guy's a steal. He's probably if he's available in your league, I'm willing to blow everything I can to get a guy like Brandon Ayuk on my team. And then Jeff Wilson's the one running back that sticks out. Although if you can still get a Cam Akers, a Mike Davis, even a Kareem Hunt, you have J.K. Dobbins, but some of those running backs I'm super into this week, and I think we can get a pretty good comeback with those players there. Turner's asking, should we start Jared Cook, Tonyan, Goddard, or Gronk? That's 4 pretty solid tight ends there. That's a tough question. The Chiefs are probably pretty vulnerable against tight end right now. Let me just pull this up here. I'm just curious to see who has been hitting against the Chiefs. So the Chiefs do allow the 7th most tight end points. And in terms of players going up against them, they let Gesicki go off for 23.5, Noah Fant here, 9.7, Rob Gronkowski, 16.6, Darren Waller, 21.8. So that's a really positive trend here for tight ends against the Chiefs here. And since we would expect Kansas City to be ahead, maybe Jared Cook gets things going there. Robert Tonyan going up against Carolina Panthers. He's been catching touchdowns at a steady rate. And same thing with Dallas Goedert. I think those 2 are your most steady options. But if Tonyan doesn't score a touchdown, that puts him kind of down there below. So I'm kind of nervous about Robert Tonyan in this one. Dallas Goedert's got a safe 8 to 10.4 PPR leagues. And then you got Gronk there too, going up against Atlanta. That could be kind of nice. But I think Jared Cook is probably the one that sticks out there. And then we're going to pick up 2 between Robinson, Akers, Wilson, and we forgot we had Akers. So that's awesome. Pick 2 from – I'm starting Cam Akers, no doubt. And then I guess I am slightly nervous about James Robinson on a bad team going up against the Ravens. I might actually lead Jeff Wilson. If we see that Raheem Mostert's out, I'm going to say Akers and Wilson for sure. And then my last thought, I have Hopkinson as my tight end currently. No backup tight ends available. Logan Thomas, Jared Cook, Dan Arnold, Herb Smith, and Gerald Everett. Just not sure about Stafford's injury. So we do have a couple games of Chase Daniel playing with this team, and he's looked decent. He's not like a Ryan Finley, Brandon Allen situation. So I think that's a little bit more of a positive there. But if you needed a tight end to start this weekend, I think it's going to be Jared Cook of that list. I think the next guy I do like there would be Herb Smith going up against the Bears, but Jared Cook sticks out the most there if you're a little bit nervous there, and no problem. Would you drop T. Higgins? I mean, he's got a pretty safe floor, but I mean, if you can get definitely one of the running backs we've been talking tonight, it really depends on who you'd be picking him up for, but I don't really see T. Higgins as a must-own player. I mean, he's been getting kind of a steady 4 or 5 catches, 40 to 50 yards, so it's not like you're losing too much there. He's just basically a 10-point player at this point, and we have no confidence in the Bengals offense, especially going up against the Steelers. You're probably not going to use T. Higgins, so I do think I would probably drop T. Higgins if you're looking at snagging some of the running backs that we've been talking about tonight. So we kind of covered all the tight ends. I have all my defensive rankings here too. If you guys do have any more questions, we're about 40 minutes in here, so I will open it up for whatever questions or anything you guys want to look at. I did get a good jump start. Basically, I got all of the start-sit column done here. So we're going to cover this tomorrow night. Essentially, we're going to go over the Chargers and the Raiders game. I did highlight the guys here in red that I'm nervous about. Keenan Allen, I think he's going to play, but we'll check out his hamstring injury tomorrow at practice. So we'll cover this game in much more depth tomorrow night. We also have all of the fantasy points allowed here entered in. And then basically all the games are all good to go here. So if you guys want to take a peek at that, I'll be covering we have 2 games on Saturday. We got Saturday afternoon football and Sunday night football. We'll talk about those 2 games on Thursday night, and then we'll get into some of the noon games there too. And then we'll finish everything up on Friday night here. So we got a lot of live shows coming through you guys the rest of the week. Let me see what else we got here in the chat room. So Irv Smith or Jared Cook. I think give me Jared Cook there. He's got a pretty good matchup. Taysom Hill's been looking for him. He scored 2 touchdowns in the back-to-back games here. Irv Smith, we're also kind of waiting to see if Kyle Rudolph's going to play, so you kind of have a little bit of touch-and-go situation there. So I think Jared Cook's probably the one guy I'm going to lean towards for sure. And then also, just because the Chiefs, Saints, we expect the Chiefs to score points. That game could be, Taysom Hill trying to come back from behind and throwing the ball a little bit more than we've seen so far. So Pittsburgh or the Rams defense. I mean, the Jets. These are the 2 dream matchups of the week. I think I'm going to lean with the Rams in this one, though. The way the Rams just looked dominant against Bill Belichick the other night. Now they play the Jets. I think that's probably the way I'm going to lean there. But again, the Pittsburgh Steelers. First of all, what is the NFL doing putting Steelers Bengals on Monday Night Football in Week 15? They had to know. I know Joe Burrow's a good player, but they had to know that game wasn't going to be a huge playoff implication type game. So I'm a little disappointed in that. But I think I'm going to lean with the Rams. They've been playing probably the best defensive football outside of like Washington at the moment right now. So I do like LA Rams. I'm trying to think of anything else that we could look at while we're kind of just perusing the options here. So we did see a couple injury reports here. We're watching again for Austin Eckler tomorrow. Even Hunter Henry was on the list here. So this makes me super nervous about Justin Herbert because I do have Herbert going in a Superflex league to get to the championship this week. So if Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams are all going to be limited this week, that makes me a little bit nervous. So tomorrow, like we've been kind of saying for a while around here, Wednesday is one of the most important days for practice participation. We'll see what happens there. And then quickly just taking a peek at the Raiders here. Jonathan Abram might not play in this one. They already kind of they did put Henry Ruggs on the COVID-19 list, so he's not playing. Looks like Damon Arnett here, questionable. So you're seeing the secondary really banged up here for the Raiders. Let's see what else here. Clelin Ferrell did not practice. Backup linebacker here. So both teams are really banged up. I do like Josh Jacobs on the Raiders side, but man, this one could be kind of an ugly Thursday night game here. Is Mike Andrews good for this week? I like Mark Andrews quite a bit this week. I've noticed a trend too with Mark Andrews that ever since Nick Boyle went on IR with the season-ending injury, Mark Andrews has been the leading guy in targets. Super safe play. If you look at basically his last 3 games here, because I think he missed 2 games total, one with COVID and one I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was 2 games with COVID. But Mark Andrews, I guess from a PPR standpoint, the last 3 weeks, we're starting to trust him. He's getting the catches. He's seeing his most consistent volume. He's had his best 3 yardage days in a row here. So Mark Andrews is definitely back into our good graces there as a top 5 tight end. David Montgomery or Nick Chubb? Give me Nick Chubb. Much better running back. I know the matchup is kind of so-so for both against the Giants. That's who Nick Chubb plays, and then the Vikings play against the Bears. But give me Nick Chubb. That's a much better offense to kind of invest in right now. And he's outside of like Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb might be one of the best bruising running backs in the league. So give me Nick Chubb and that one all day. I'm just kind of curious. I might pop over to Roto World. And I did want to plug real quick. We had one question earlier, but I'm going to be doing a live ESPN fantasy basketball draft here coming up at 7:30. If you guys want to hang out, definitely stick around. And if you guys want to play in a fantasy basketball league for free with me and a couple people here on the YouTube channel, just send me an email, thefellowkgb@gmail.com, or you can hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment here, whatever you need, and I can send you guys the invite. But we're going to be drafting next Monday night, and we're trying to just do kind of a free fun league. I'll do $25 to first place, so just hang out, we'll draft, and kind of have a free little fun league between YouTubers and a couple other people here. So I'm just kind of reading over some of the news and stuff here. We didn't talk about Derwyn James. He's not playing on Thursday night, so that's a huge loss for the Chargers secondary. Again, here the bottom line is the Chargers defense hasn't been as good in 2020 without James. Looks like John Brown, we talked about him at the start. He's coming back from injury reserve here. Henry Ruggs, COVID list. He's not playing tomorrow night. Let's see here. Des Bryant's back from COVID. That's good to see. If you guys have any more questions, I mean, basically at this point, we're probably just hanging out for the next 15 minutes. If you guys have anything on your mind, I can also answer some start-sit questions if you guys have them. What's up, Bills Mafia? Bob, is dropping Devonte Parker for Akers or McKissick a good move? I think so. I mean, we weren't really trusting Devonte Parker to begin with. I don't think you would want to start him this week against the Patriots. Give me Cam Akers for sure. Akers in a landslide, by the way, too. Go get Cam Akers against the Jets this weekend. I think that one's a whew. If you can get Cam Akers, man, going up against the Jets, I think you're going to have a good time. So we do have a couple blurbs here from our main Chargers. Mike Williams back to practice. I started Mike Williams in one league, and we ended up pulling out the win, but he hurt his back in like the second or third play here. I don't know if we're going to trust Mike Williams, but it looks like he's limited today. Austin Eckler also limited. Keenan Allen also limited here today. So huge day of practice for these three guys tomorrow. We'll also see if Hunter Henry can go or not too. This is interesting. Melvin Gordon will not have practice on Tuesday here. So I did notice that Philip Lindsay has been pretty banged up. So I was kind of into Melvin Gordon this week. So we'll kind of watch the Broncos reports there this week. Noah Fant still not at practice. Definitely something to consider there. We talked about Christian McCaffrey, expected to miss the game against the Packers. So Mike Davis gets another go here. If anyone's got Mike Davis available in their waiver wire, let me know in the comments. And I mean, he should be a must-target player there. He's coming off a really good game with 2 touchdowns going up against the Packers. That's basically the Packers are a funnel defense here. If we just kind of look at the Packers real quick. Packers are really good against everything but the running back here. So Mike Davis, probably a pretty strong RB2 and maybe a fringe RB1 in PPR leagues this weekend against the Packers. The Lions aren't overly optimistic here, so it looks like Chase Daniel is going to get the start this week. If we're nervous about TJ Hopkinson, I understand it. I think we need to have a stud tight end behind us. I think we did get a couple Jared Cook questions. I think that might be a guy that I'm more interested in than TJ Hockenson this week. So again, Tuesday night, it's hard to make start-sit calls in Tuesday night. It's even hard to do them on Wednesday nights. That's why I basically only cover the one game for Thursday night, and then we'll kind of open it up for questions. But basically, I'd like to get as many practice reports as I can before we get into those start-sit questions here. Oh, man. So Aiden says, my school basketball league, my friend messed up, and 3-pointers are worth 4 points. Anybody I should be trading for? I haven't looked into it. Whoever hits the most threes, I suppose. You know, Steph Curry, Chris Middleton hits a lot. I don't know. Like, there's tons of guys there. I mean, I was hoping to just do fantasy football, but you can go ahead and list it out there, and we'll take a peek at it. But again, we'll be doing a mock draft here. I'm probably going to hang out in maybe 5-10 more minutes, but we're doing a mock draft over on ESPN starting at 7:30 here. We got a question from Sports Dog. So we got Gaskin and Debo on my IR. What are the chances Samuel will play? I'm assuming he's got no chance to play this week, week 16. It's going to be slim. Should I just let him go? And if so, any insight on any IR players you might try for? Maybe Penny. I like Rashad Penny. I like Rashad Penny quite a bit. They're saying that Penny's going to play this week, which is interesting, but I just don't know how much he's going to play. We're not going to use Rashad Penny this week. Sport Dog, do you play? Does this go all the way through week 17? I think you're just asking about weeks 15 and 16. But if week 17 comes in play, maybe that's a Rashad Penny week. But should I just let him go? And if so, any insight on any IR player you might try for? George Kittle, if George Kittle was let go, I'm really nervous about Deebo Samuel. I don't think we're going to see Deebo Samuel maybe the rest of the season. Let me just pull up the Kyle Shanahan quote on Deebo Samuel. So, I mean, the first thing here is he says he'll be out a while. Who knows how long a while is, but they're also saying it didn't look good, things like that. So I'm assuming Deebo Samuel is pretty much droppable at this point. Gaskins still worth hanging on to, but if there's any other IR player you might try for, I mean, if you need quarterback, Drew Brees might be playing next weekend. That might be kind of a nervous start there. Let me just quick pull up my other guys here. If you want someone like John Brown, they activated him today. So he's not technically IR eligible. But for this list of IR guys, like Rashad Penny's fine to hold on to. I do think Drew Brees is probably the headliner of this list. But there's really not too many guys left there. Maybe George Kittle. They're saying George Kittle's going to practice this week. So there's a few guys out there if that helps. I hope it does. You can go ahead and list it, Aiden. We got 10 minutes to kill here. Just because 16, yeah, just 16 because only 14 playoff. Okay. But yeah, I guess I don't know, because I mean we're probably not going to use a guy like Rashad Penny. If you want to add him and just get him on your team just in case, I think that's fine. He's probably one of the higher running backs here. I don't care about LaMichael Pirine, Joe Mixon. Not really interested in any of those guys. So I'm actually holding Rashad Penny in one of my leagues too on my my IR spot there. But I think he's probably going to play this weekend, so he might not be IR eligible by the end of the week anyways. But I think Drew Brees is probably going to be IR eligible at least through the weekend here. I'm trying to think. Let me see. Let me just go to ESPN here. I kind of want to just filter and look and search. See who else is just kind of hanging around there. So if we add players, I'm going to click on health and IR eligible here. And we'll click all. And we'll filter by percent roster. So, I mean, no one's cutting DJ Moore, David Johnson, George Kittle, Drew Brees. We talked about those. Henry Ruggs. Someone might cut Henry Ruggs. I don't know if you want him. Just looking around here. I don't know. It's not a very long list of IR eligible players. Maybe Greg Olsen if you need a tight end. He's going to try to practice this week. But I think that's pretty much the names at the top there that I liked for the most part. Yeah, week 15 waiver wire report. Tomorrow night, again, we'll be going live at 6 o'clock. We'll cover the Thursday night football game, and then we'll open it up to all your guys' questions. Just out of curiosity, we'll take a peek here at Aiden's basketball team. So 20-person league. Holy crap. Rubio, Killian Hayes, Dort, Simmons, Clark, Anthony Davis, Obi Toppin. A lot of rookies here. Vesuvic, Drummond, Okoro, Naismith are my starters. Okay, so this is a really young. Is this a keeper league by any chance? A dynasty league, something like that? Looks like you got a lot of young talent there. So it can be kind of a fun draft and develop. And you got Andre Drummond in there too, so you're locking down the boards. I think Vesuvic can be a pretty good play there as well. So those are going to probably be your carriers. Yeah, have a good rest of your night, Sport Dog. I think I'm actually going to get out of here pretty soon too. If you guys are good with that, I think I got all the questions we needed. I'm going to be going live in about a half an hour. If you want to come hang out, watch a fantasy basketball draft, we'll get coming on live with 2 other friends here. We're going to basically just, make our picks, and we'll cover as much content as we can and stick out names there for guys that we like. It's a redraft this year. And again, if you guys do want to play in a league with me this year, you can send me an email, thefellowkgb@gmail.com, or just follow me on Twitter. You can DM me there, whatever else you guys need to hit me up there, or you can just leave a comment here. I can find the emails too. So I think for now, that's going to do it. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck with your waiver wire run this week. We'll see you guys either at the basketball show, or we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good one. Peace.